Hi, I'm Andy Burrows, PCT TV, and I'm here with Dr. Julie Vallortigara, who's the Research Officer at Ataxia UK. Hi there, thanks for joining
Andy.
us. So, let's start with quite a general question. You work in the rare disease space, obviously. What do you see are the biggest challenges around clinical research at the moment?
Yeah, there are quite a few challenges when you work in a rare disease field to run successful clinical trials. I would say the first obvious one is the limited number of patients available to run a successful trial. By definition, rare disease, you don't have many patients living with that particular condition. And if you want to try a new treatment, you need enough numbers to run a successful trial. So first of all, the number, but also it's probably making sure you engage with all patients available and eligible for that trial and make sure they stay on the trial. So for me, the other big challenge is maybe to engage with patient groups quite early on when you plan a research study, a clinical trial, to make sure people are interested in taking part in that trial. They see they need and challenges of what it is to live with a rare condition being targeted in that trial, isn't it? Then you just keep a patient engaged from the beginning up to the end. Also, because rare diseases are being under-researched up to now, we have a limited knowledge about how the disease progresses over the years. And ataxia is a rare a neurological and progressive condition. It's a group of conditions, in fact, so it's quite complex. So the challenge is, I think, is to find new biomarkers to be able to follow the disease progression, but also being able to test the effect of a drug at different stages of disease. Up to date, we don't have very, very good biomarkers depending on the type of ataxia we're talking about. So I think before we can run successful trials, there is also a need to develop really strong biomarkers that will ensure future clinical studies are more successful because they're able to measure an effect and the progression of the disease or the progression of this thing being stopped or being reduced or slowed down by the drug.
And so, still plenty of challenges.
Yes.
How do you see the industry, particularly the orphan drug industry, changing in the next few years? Which improvements do you expect to see?
Yes, we are at exciting times because rare diseases used to be not of great interest by pharmaceutical companies. There was no great investment in terms of new studies and testing new drugs or developing new drugs in drug discovery program and drug development program before moving on to the clinical study. But I have to say, in the past maybe 5 years, the number of trials on ataxia has increased, as well as on other rare conditions. So this is exciting times, and I think in the next 4 or 5 years, I can see the landscape of orphan drugs being expanded, having more new drugs being developed and tested in rare diseases, as well as maybe more drugs being repurposed. Drug that already exists on the market and being licensed and approved for a particular condition and being repurposed for a rare disease, which I think, from my point of view, it's one of the best avenue to explore at the moment to hopefully get effective treatments within a reasonable time frame for people living with a rare condition. What I see also in the next few years, I think it's probably more partnerships, I think, because the interest from pharmaceutical companies is increasing in the rare diseases. There's more connections being made with patient and patient organizations, and I think we need to work together more in order to design and run more successful trials and engage with more patients taking part in these trials. So hopefully, it's an hope and expectation, it's both at the same time, that more partnerships will happen in the next few years and more studies will be run on rare diseases.
So you say hope for more partnerships. Do you see any sort of trends appearing at the moment in terms of what sorts of partnerships or anything like that?
Yes, sure. From our experience, in the rise of interest from pharmaceutical companies into rare diseases, they're running trials on rare diseases, but also there is an increase in investing some money and resources in natural history study, which I think is very promising because, as I said before, we are lacking knowledge in the progression of these rare conditions. We are lacking good biomarkers to run successful trials and test drug in the best conditions. We are aware that few pharmaceutical companies are investing money in natural history studies on ataxia at the moment, being run at the European scale. So this is great to see that. This is a new avenue of partnerships. Aside of running trials, is also investing resources and money into understanding better how this disease progresses.
Right.
Another type of partnerships that maybe is in the trend of being developed is talking to our partners, pharmaceutical companies that we work with at the moment. They are also interested in working in more than one type of rare disease. Normally a pharmaceutical company, unless they're specifically working on orphan drugs and rare diseases, when they have like quite a broad strategy in terms of research, when they start to be interested in one type of rare disease or one type of ataxia in our example, talking to them, we can sense that once they've decided to invest in that type of ataxia, and we suggest some of the projects, a natural history study, another trial, a repurposed drug, an idea that we may have from our research strategy, they are interested too. So there is also an interest or will to expand to other type of rare diseases, which I think it's very exciting to see that, because one of the strategy I think that we should go forward as patient groups and pharmaceutical company hand in hand together is to look for developing drugs that target symptoms, so symptomatic relief drugs, which are like desperately needed at the moment from patients. Of course they want to cure, they want a drug that is going to slow down or stop the progression of the disease, but first of all, talking to patients, we know they want something that will help them to cope with some symptoms. So if you look at symptomatic relief drugs, then I think you need to look at rare diseases and as an ensemble of conditions and see which one have common symptoms. Then you look at a larger population and then you can start about identifying targets that might work for that symptom that is experienced by patients living with different type of rare diseases. So it's about broaden the spectrum of where pharmaceuticals, exactly, the community, and although we work on ataxia, the rare disease field is a very generous community where people want to share knowledge and expertise and full of solidarity as well. So let's hope that our partners will also broaden their interests and join this community.
That's great. Well, thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the opportunity of talking to you today.